Welcome to Wise Beyond Bitcoin, where you come to wise up on crypto. I'm Lucas.
And I'm Ryan.
And we just want to touch up on some more awesome, bullish, exciting macro news. Of course, to get started, we're here at our new wisebeyondbitcoin.com DeFi Hub, which we will be continuing to edit and bring you more links and more information. But without further ado, we got our little metrics tab right here, which there's plenty of market cap, CoinGecko, CoinPaprika, but we tend to like nomics. Is that right, Ryan? Pretty much.
Yeah, I like nomics.
We like the
Great
nomics.
format.
So let's check it out, and let's check out if you're new to crypto, blockchain, and DeFi, and you're used to traditional finance. Let's talk about what's going on in the last one day, the last day, whether the percentage changes, and we're seeing some amazing growth in basically
the DeFi space, right?
DeFi. I mean, Bitcoin is growing. I mean, 5% growth for that huge market cap is definitely huge. I mean, to see a 5% move in Bitcoin, but really what we're seeing is I read an article earlier about the bears capitulating. We're seeing that price point where it's very difficult to keep pushing Bitcoin and Ethereum down. It's just getting too the good deals. Other people that are sitting out on the sidelines are just recognizing that there's just too many great opportunities to buy at these prices. And I guess that's pretty much what I want to talk about, is jump on with you and talk about these amazing price jumps, the volatility that you get in DeFi in crypto, but also the macro picture, right? Because we're still looking at 50% depression on the all-time highs from a month ago.
Yes, but the fundamentals, it's a classic divergence where the prices are low, nearing recent lows, but fundamentally we just keep getting more and more stories that are bullish. You know, adoption across mostly institutional sectors, right? That's one of the big stories. I just wanted to point out, it's good to see Ethereum back over $2,000. That's nice. That's a good psychological important level there. Kusama, if you're going to go and look at the daily bigger players, Kusama's had a great day.
Huge.
And Compound right behind it, Nave as well.
And Compound and Aave, we're going to talk about that later, but Compound and Aave are DeFi protocols. They're liquidity aggregators and DeFi protocols on the Ethereum network. And so that's what we're talking about, how Ethereum and DeFi is really leading the charge. And you can even say that Kusama, the canary network for Polkadot,
right.
Which this could be a good flag that you could see Dot making some moves pretty soon. But Kusama does a lot of work with getting DeFi on that Cosmos Polkadot style blockchain. So this is huge, but I mean, 30%, 38%, 40% in one day. There's definitely something going on. We have to look it up. There's definitely something going on with Kusama. I know that there have been some parachain auctions lately that people have been burning Kusama, locking it up for. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's an auction running up to push that price. And of course, with Compound and Aave, we've got the DeFi, and Celsius is also another DeFi application. Even though it's a little bit more centralized, they have some decentralized aspects to their business model, and they've got a great team behind them. But we're seeing a lot of the DeFi prices just shooting up. Zilliqa, Celsius, but Aave.
Synthetics. We were looking at their stable coin. We'll talk about that later, but there's some good rates that are available on Aave, right? With the synthetic stable coin.
Yep, the SUSD. Yes. Among other stable coins. So yeah, there's 15% on Elrond. Chainlink is up 13% at Yearn Finance. These are Hex, Helium, Cosmos. You know, what's good to see about this: Solana, VeChain, Decentraland. They go Polkadot. These are not pump and dumps. These are larger market cap. These have been around for several years. They've got solid teams. So when you see this kind of move on these tokens, that's bullish, and that's I just mean that in the short run. I mean, when we look at macro, the whole thing is bullish in the macro, but when you see these kinds of names pop up, on these largest one-day gains. That's different than when you see a Dogecoin, a Shiba Inu, or some other small. When you see
small
those pump up, right. When you can see a flat market or a slow market, and that's one little tactic or trick. See what is doing well in the market. And right now, we're looking at the blue chips or some of the larger, more solid protocols in blockchain and cryptocurrency. So this absolutely is a short run bullish signal for where we're at in the prices now.
Indeed. Yeah. Well, we've had a retest of those lows a few days ago in Bitcoin, and the whole crypto space fell after that. So, and that was a significant dump. So, after big dumps this is what you get. You get nice bounces. And
Sure.
You're right that it occurs in the stronger. People are buying the strength. They're in the strong names. They're not out there. It's not going to be. It's not absolute, but the focus seems to be on the stronger, more established names, and a lot of DeFi activity. We should head over to DeFi Pulse.
We should
get a bird's eye view of that.
And I say a quick shout out because you see Ethereum going up 16% almost, right? And I'm going to do this quick shout out because
yes,
because
Wise is backed by ETH.
Because Wise is backed by ETH and it's up 15.5%, and that it's pumping up as well. And they've got a lot going on. We actually are going to get to talk to Peter and have a special live stream to join later on. So that's going to be exciting. But no, it's DeFi and Ethereum networks are really blowing up right now. In fact, like you said, let's just go check it out. Let's go check out the DeFi Pulse. Bada bing, bada boom. And you see, well, Aave,
52 billion total value locked. That's impressive.
And Aave 15% dominance as being one of the older foundational DeFi lending platforms, borrowing, lending, and they continue to develop on their protocol. That's what's so beautiful about these projects. They're not just built and then they're gone. A lot of these are ecosystems that are having layers built on. Shucks, even Wise token, which the smart contract was complete, is having more layers in interoperability with other chains. So we're seeing that this huge ecosystem, this cryptocurrency ecosystem, continues to create bridges together for interoperability. They do layers to make them more functional, like we see with Polygon and Matic. So it's really, or like we see with Uniswap, their version 3, or what they allow you to provide liquidity in certain boundaries. They bounded liquidity providing, so that you don't have to worry about impermanent loss. Right? There's
a lot of innovation occurring.
Right.
That's the big overwhelming takeaway, is that whether it's innovating new layers or bridging chains or reducing fees or creating privacy protocols or all the above, or finding new ways to monetize your art or your labor, there's just so much innovation happening here that it's not for nothing that the world's smartest people with the deepest pockets are doing everything they can to integrate this new space into the financial world, to the financial system, and become a part of it. And
often to use news and FUD to push the prices down, to give them more opportunities to get in, to slow the floodgates, right? Because right now, every day that someone is not getting in crypto, somebody else is, right? Your neighbor or someone else is jumping in while you're sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah, there's a finite supply of these tokens, and there's not going to be enough to go around. So you want to buy, you obviously have an incentive to get it now, get it cheap. And if you can do something to move prices in the short term with FUD or fear, uncertainty, and doubt, then why not, right?
Right. In fact, speaking of, I pulled up a little FUD article we were talking about earlier, but you actually mentioned this. So Binance has come under scrutiny in the UK for not meeting their regulatory conditions, but not just UK, Canada and Japan as well.
Right.
Binance is receiving a little bit of backlash or regulatory crackdowns. So the reason I bring this up from a macro perspective is this is like an opportunity article, right? Because if you're reading this, you're thinking, oh no, this is horrible news. I mean, not you, but often people read this in the short run and say, look, Binance is getting cracked down. They're going to prevent people from, but that may be in the short run. In the long run, what I see when I look at this article, a few years ago, a lot of places didn't even accept cryptocurrency or blockchain as being a legitimate market, or right.
Exactly.
And now it's been legitimized. Now people are really just talking about, well, have you met our regulations? Have you met our protocols and our checks? So for me, I look at this as an opportunity article, right? Like, it may in the short run create a negative price shock where it says, oh no, look, Binance and all those crypto assets and all the liquidity and all the customers accessing and using Binance around the world in these countries might get shut down, right? We might just completely just snip off that supply. But in reality, what we're really looking at is how cryptocurrency is going to be integrated into these larger traditional financial institutions and networks.
Exactly. And it's because the story is not crypto and DeFi is being banned. It's the story is a particular exchange who hasn't met certain hurdles is going to have to withdraw, close their shop down in a certain jurisdiction, right? But recall that this technology was built to cross jurisdictions and to be censorship resistant. So yes, these sort of hurdles do exist, and they will hobble certain projects here and there. It's not going to shut down Binance by any means, and nor is it going to be a long-term threat to anything that's going on in the DeFi world, because that the whole idea here is to be kind of above and beyond the scope of any one jurisdiction. And this, in fact, if you want to pull up this, I don't know if you can find it, but there's a section in here where it talks about how Binance is trying to operate, outside of any one jurisdiction, just to kind of get around these problems.
Right. Is it towards the bottom?
It could be. It's a long article, so
it sure is.
I'll find it later on.
We'll link it. Obviously, we're going to link these articles below. So afterwards, you can check it out for yourself. It's an educational. This is not financial advice. This is educational information only. Exactly. Because we love to talk about that exciting crypto economic news that everyone just loves to talk about.
I know there was a tweet that is directly relevant to this whole story. Right here. Mm-hmm. Charlie Labello, he's got a chart showing that junk bonds are now yielding 4%, which is an all-time low. It's a 3% spread between that and treasuries, which are considered to be risk-free. So we see. So if you're not sure what's going on, that means that there's a lot of people who bought into junk bonds, or basically these are debt instruments that private companies have issued. And typically they're seen as being very risky, because the question is will that company be profitable when that bond needs to be repaid? Will they have the revenue to pay it back? And that could be, but it might not be the case. And so people tend to see junk bonds as being a riskier investment. So to see that the prices of those being so high, pushing the yields down so low, so close to treasuries, which are seen to be risk-free, that's very much a sign that we're in like a mania phase, where people are where money is just sloshing around all these markets and just bidding up every little possible debt instrument to squeeze every little bit of yield that they can. And that's kind of like being set up for a great fall, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And for a lot of the people that are looking see this fall coming and where to go, why we pulled up DeFi Pulse earlier, and we're seeing all this rapid growth on Ethereum and the blockchain, is because, for many people who don't know, Ethereum is not just some passive stock or investment that you hold like in traditional finance. Ethereum is a living network that has smart contracts interacting. There's locked liquidity in the forms of Bitcoin. There's locked liquidity in stable coins. There's lending and borrowing. So while you just mentioned how the yields on these junk bonds are getting lower and lower, and people are looking for where to turn to in these kinds of markets, then you go over to something like Aave, right? And these are relatively risk-free protocols. I mean, in many ways, we're looking at protocols that are more risk-free than traditional finance.
Even the treasuries.
Then even the treasuries, right? Because this is true blockchain. This is where there's no third-party intermediary. It's just between the signing of the smart contract and
people might ask, well, where's the risk in treasury investments? Well, it's definitely not default risk, because the treasury is going to have the resources to pay you back, but it's an inflationary risk that you take on, because you're getting a very small yield, especially, especially when you go far out into the curve, 10 years and stuff, you're looking at pitiful yields. And you're saying, well, what's the risk? Well, the risk is that those future streams of revenue associated with that bond are paid out in devalued dollars. So when you look at the real return of your investment, you're negative. That's called risk. That's return-free risk, is what you've heard treasuries called risk-free return. Well, I like to think of them as return-free risk, but regardless, that's the risk in treasuries. But with stable coins, you don't have an entity that is able to devalue them by just creating them at will, right? And there's an algorithm, there's a process, they're backed by some asset, right? So they're not deflationary, not inflationary, they're just stable. So you can at least count on the fact that you're not going to get an inflation risk when you're getting paid out. So these rates of return don't have an asterisk next to them where you have to adjust them by some kind of an inflationary metric, whether it's the CPI or whatever, to get the real return. This is the real return. And so there's something to be said there, right?
Absolutely. But there's also something to be said about getting a return on digital assets and cryptocurrencies that have a tendency to appreciate over time versus the US dollar. Now, from an economic perspective, fiat currency or the US dollar over time, does it tend to grow in strength and value, or does it tend to lose value over time?
Right. Well, I mean, it's obvious it's going to lose value.
But when we look at digital assets and cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, we're looking at because supplies are finite and they're immutable, that you actually see
the opposite.
The opposite, right? The actual appreciation of the value or the price in that asset. So imagine being able to get an interest or return, not like in the old
appreciating asset.
On an appreciating asset, right? Yeah. And that's really what we're looking at here. Oh, shucks me. I don't know how I just did that.
You can also get paid an APY borrowing against your assets. I'm glad you highlighted that.
Yeah. How do I scroll down?
You zoomed in. I think it's like a 2-finger thing on the trackpad. But yeah.
Yeah, I did. I figured it out.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, you can actually, that's something we don't talk about enough. You can stake and earn an income, a yield, but you can also borrow and earn a yield. That's interesting. And that's something that Jacob was pointing, wasn't it, Jake? Yeah, Jacob was pointing out to us that people don't think about that strategy enough as much, but there's a payment for borrowing too.
Absolutely. You're a part of it. So you can lend and earn interest, and you can borrow at a rate. And this is decentralized finance, right? You've got an interest rate. You don't need a bank. If you've got the asset, you can borrow it, and there's an interest rate you can borrow it at. If you want to lend it, there's an interest rate you can earn at. I mean, you can even earn interest on Bitcoin, and that's awesome. That's huge. And Ethereum, which is huge. So, and this is just on Aave. Obviously, there's other networks. This is just an example. But yeah, I mean, this is exciting times. Y'all will finish it off here at the old Nomics market cap to see where things are going. But I would say that if you're alive right now and you're following cryptocurrency markets, or you're just now learning about it, or you've been in it and you're wondering what's happening, you're in a good place. We're looking at, and we'll talk about it later. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. We got a live stream and we got a video planned in the future. What are you talking about? Elliott Wave? There's a leg up.
Yeah, we're gonna do an Elliott Wave video in the works.
That I think where we might be at in the old Elliott Wave theory.
Yes, sir.
And Bitcoin. Regardless of where we're at on that leg, seeing that the crypto prices are depressed from all-time highs, and looking at the overall news, again, I would say take your time. This isn't financial advice, but absolutely it's an exciting time to get involved and to learn about this market. There are opportunities in this market that I would say generations haven't seen. I mean, this is a very remarkable and unique time.
Yes.
Bigger than other technological achievements in the past, not, only because it has room to basically absorb a lot of the existing financial markets and economies into this new network. So
Right.
it's not some minute sector. It's actually a new way of communicating technologies that are going to be bridging.
You could say it's as important as flows of credit, money, and interest are in an economy.
Which is pretty important.
Pretty important.
If
On
you're
that
watching
note,
this or involved in all in interest rates and markets, and then you would agree with that at some level. So, but heck, until the next time, we got a live stream every Monday from 6 to 7. We'll catch you up on some other news. If you got some ideas for an article, some fun cryptonomic article for us to go over and talk about, feel free to drop it in the comments. I will say until then, have a beautiful day and namaste, and let you wrap us out, Ryan.
all right. Well, if you got nothing going on, check out our live stream in about an hour and a half. And until then, adios.